Cool. Well, first of all, thank you so much for making the time to do this for me.
My pleasure.
You've done so much in your career. I was curious, as a kid, was your dream to be an astronaut or a Navy SEAL, or what was your dream?
As a kid, it was neither of those dreams. I wanted to be a professional basketball player. Um, and it wasn't too long that I realized, oh wow, there's a lot of kids that want to be professional basketball players. So it was around high school that I gave up on that dream. But it was that same time frame where I was trying to figure out where to go to college, how to pay for college, and that's what got me interested in the United States Naval Academy, where you it it's the government pays for your education, but you owe time back in service to the military. So that's what set me off on that path. And it was once I arrived at the Naval Academy that I learned about the SEAL teams and got motivated about that career.
Okay. What motivated you about that career?
Well, I met a few other SEALs in my interactions in the early times of becoming a naval officer, and they were always the two that in particular stood out as just absolute um, models of professionalism and just inspiring individuals. And I thought, wow, that's a pretty cool organization. And do I have what it takes to be like those guys?
Mhm. Okay. Well, how did you become an astronaut? Where did that come from?
Um, so there's I was the second SEAL astronaut. The first SEAL astronaut is a guy named Bill Shepard, and early in my career I met him, and in talking to him I realized that my background was sort of lining up to what his was prior to becoming an astronaut in SEAL teams in graduate school. And I thought, wow, if he was able to be a competitive applicant and get selected to be an astronaut, well, maybe there's a chance for me too.
Okay. All right. And then that's how that happened. Okay. So when did you, like, how many times have you gone to space? Was it just once, or?
No, I've been to space 3 times, once on a space shuttle and twice on a Russian Soyuz rocket.
Okay. What's been the most memorable experience? Which one?
Oh my gosh. The most memorable experience about going to space is probably always your first time going to space. You know, the first time you launch a rocket, the first time you look out the window and see Earth below you. And for me, that was in 2009 on a shuttle. But each mission is slightly different, and the more experience you gain, the more insight you have into what's going on, and the more you feel in control and able to contribute. Not that you can't contribute when in your first mission, but you're just overwhelmed with lots of stuff. Um, that what's been my most memorable moments, I could talk for hours about that. But looking out that window, that very first moment when the rocket cut off on my first mission, and then actually I just returned in 2020 from another 6 month stay up there, and the last time I looked out the window on that mission was very memorable to me because I don't know if that it's very likely that's the last time I'll ever see that view. So sort of the bookends of my space career.
And when did you become a public speaker?
Well, part of our job as astronauts is to do public outreach and be a representative of the space program. So in that sense, I've been public speaking for 17 years, my whole career as an astronaut. I just retired from the government, and now I'm in the private sector. So another way to answer that question is in the last month, I've been a public speaker. But I really think that the background, the core, the experience of public speaking, and the feeling of satisfaction and sharing a good story and sharing experiences with an audience is something I've done for almost 2 decades.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. And you speak about a lot of different topics like leadership, and then there was something about inspirational, motivational speaking. Which topic is your favorite to speak about?
My favorite to speak about is the transformational effect that going to space had impactful meaning to me, mostly in how I see the world and how I see how fragile it is and how intertwined everything is, and the global climate. all of that stuff. I'm much more passionate about that these days. Now, along the way, I've got to a lot of experience in very practical things that relate to everyday business, leadership in small units, both in the SEAL teams and on a crew. Um, the sense of a mission to accomplish with a team of people, and how do you make trades on where you're going to accept risk and where you're going to back off and kind of play it safe. So
Mhm.
all those are topics I love talking about, and it can be kind of whatever the client is interested in, but I'm just happy to share experiences and my thoughts.
Okay. What is it like to come back to Earth from space? What is that like? Is that scary coming back?
Well, I like to tell people that on launch day, all the bad, scary stuff that can kill you is behind you. On returning day, all the bad, scary stuff that can kill you is directly in front of you, meaning you have to go right through the atmosphere and all that heat builds up, and you have to safely arrive through that heat. The physical feeling on your body once you land, there's a lot of G forces and crazy things happening when you're going through the atmosphere, and then you land, and your body's used to floating, and your body's used to zero gravity. In our case, 6 months of no gravity,
Yeah.
and that really takes some adjusting. I would say probably a full month before I was back to normal,
Okay.
um, and
Is
quite a bit
it
of rehabilitation.
is it difficult to walk and everything after that?
Very difficult to walk. You're a little bit like a drunk driver, your balance is all weird, and it's difficult to go up and down stairs. You just don't have a good sense for um, just gravity and all the little things associated with it.
Would you go back still if you could?
Oh yeah, I would. It's fun. It's hard work. A lot of people think they'll just go up there and looking out the window, but no, we're there on the space station to do work, to do research, to conduct science experiments, and also fix things. Imagine your house or your car, if you never did maintenance on it, it wouldn't be very reliable. And same thing with the space station. We've got to maintain it, and so all of those things make for fun weeks, fun days. They're never the same, and it requires a lot of thinking and understanding what's going on, and that's what I like. It's a mind game in addition to a fun experience.
I would think that maybe because I always thought that traveling the world, makes it difficult to settle in or settle in place or, associate with everyone. I'm guessing the same kind of applies being an astronaut and being away in space. That is it hard to like associate with other people? Like being
Not really. We're pretty well connected with Earth when we're up there. We have a telephone, we have email, we have video conferences. Of course, we can receive the news. And particularly for me, this last mission was entirely during COVID. Uh, so although I had never walked out of the house in a mask until October of 2020, because the whole time I was in space, I definitely related to all the folks on the ground. So I don't think there's a sense of complete detachment that we get by being up there. That we're always members of Spaceship Earth, no matter if we're on or off it.
okay. What's the biggest learning lesson you've had since being in space?
The biggest lesson I've learned in space is really to be present in the here and now. When you're on the space station, it's an amazing experience. You have these views, and but you're busy working, and it's easy to get caught up in the fact that you're just getting through your workday. And I always made a point every single day to stop and look out the window, usually right before going to bed, and appreciate the view, appreciate where I was, appreciate Earth, appreciate my friends and family that I love that I'm not with, and so it's just enjoying every minute of it, but appreciating what you have.
Absolutely. That's really nice. How have you evolved as a leader? Because I read a little bit about you. You've been a leader in a lot of places. So how have you evolved? What's your leadership style like?
I've learned over time that everybody in a unit, an organization, has value to add, and leaders are most effective when they tap into all those people and all the resources that are part of it. And the folks that I've seen struggle in leadership are the ones that think only their answer is the right answer, and that lets everybody must comply. And there's a time and a place for that, when you don't have a lot of time to make a decision, you just have to pick the 80% best answer and go.
Mhm.
Um, but I really have learned to appreciate how valuable every member of the organization is.
About public speaking. So I think you mentioned that you like to tell stories, right? So every speaker has something that's unique to them. Would your thing be storytelling?
Ah, so do you know Ted Burke?
Yes.
He's Yeah, Ted and I are good friends. We've been friends since we were 18 years old, and we talk a lot with each other about the power of storytelling and how you can convey quite a powerful messages through a well told story.
Mhm.
Um, and I do, and in fact, when I think about public speaking, I kind of think about two or three stories, maybe depending on the time for the talk to that I've experienced that illustrate the theme of which we're there to talk about, and that's how I like to deliver a message is with that power of storytelling.
Okay. Do you have a favorite story one that comes up a lot? Can you tell
Well,
me?
actually I do. It has to do with how I would have been able to um, experience all these cool things in life, and it wasn't until later in life that I realized it was one event, one encounter with a person when I was 18 years old that was really had set it all in place. And if you want, I'll share it with you right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So the way it works when you're applying to a United States Military Academy, in my case, the Naval Academy, you have to get an endorsement from your local politician, and then as well you have to apply to the school itself. But I didn't know this at the time. I just applied to the local politician, and they told me, "Oh, okay, we take care of everything from here." And I grew up in a small town and didn't have a whole lot of folks, none really, guiding me in this process. And I believed them. I said, "Oh, okay, great."
Mhm.
Well, then fast forward to the end of my final year in high school, when everybody's finding out if you're getting into what university you get into or didn't. And I heard nothing from the one place I wanted to go, which was the Naval Academy. And I called the admissions office, and the woman said, "What's your name? Tell Spell it again." She was looking through the files and had no input, no information on me whatsoever. I was pretty disappointed. Well, it turns out my friend's father was taking a business trip to Washington, D.C., which was about 8 hours drive from where I lived in Maine.
Mhm.
And my friend and I had planned to join his father because it was next week was our vacation from school. So we drove down, and I took one of the days during the week. I drove over to the Naval Academy, which is not far from Washington, D.C., and went to the admissions office and asked the woman, um, told the woman of my story, and I could recognize her name was the same voice. And she said, "Okay, you're from this part of the country. You need to go down and down the hall and talk to Captain Malillo. And he's our person for your state." And so I walked down there, and I turned the corner, and there he is, this like picture perfect Marine Corps officer with a perfect uniform and shiny shoes and very intimidating looking. And and I was telling him my story, and I could tell he was looking at me like, "Are you for real? Why everybody else got their application in? Why should I believe in you?" But he heard my story and said, "Okay, I understand. I'll call you in a week or two." So I went back to my hometown thinking, "Oh, this is not going to happen." Well, lo and behold, he called me the next week, and he said, "Hey, I've got good news. I can get you into the prep school. You need to tell me right now on the phone if you're wanted or not." I said, "Yes, sir. Please do." And off I went. With his vote of confidence, I was able to go to a preparatory school that then the following year allowed me to go to the Naval Academy. 4 years later, I commissioned into the SEAL teams, and a dozen years later, I became an astronaut. And later in life, I realized that none of that would have been possible if he hadn't have believed in me, if he hadn't have seen something that he thought was worth taking a chance on. And that stuck with me, that any one of us has the power to be that guy, to be Captain Milo for anybody else, and believe in someone and give them a chance. And so I'm very thankful for that. And I had only met him that one 15-minute period of time, and it changed my life.
Wow. That's so awesome. I love that. I love that inspirational story. Yeah, like you said. So do you try to do that for other people then? Do you try to be
I
that
try,
person?
especially now at this point in my life where I can help with recommendations and help people get on the right track. I try to give back like he gave to me.
What a wonderful person. So grateful that you met him and he led you on this life journey.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So my last question for you would be, what would your one piece of advice be for someone who is aspiring to be a public speaker, or then it even could be aspiring to be whatever they want to be in your case?
Right. Really, it's just uh, find good mentors, find talk about things that you're passionate about. One person told me in my journey to be a public speaker is people uh, people don't want, how did he phrase it? People don't want to hear you talk. People want to hear your experiences, and that's what you're there for, is to share those and relate to things. And I think that's true whether it's speaking or whatever somebody chooses to do. Your Each of us has a different path to where we are in life, but we're all end up at that point at the same time, whether it's in a company or on the stage or in an audience. And um, and we're all there for different reasons, but yet we're all there for similar ones too. And um, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling because that's a
Yeah.
good question. It's a really good question. Like, what's my advice for somebody? I don't. Um, I'm not one to take it for granted that somebody's going to want to hear me speak or somebody's going to want me in their organization. So I think just knowing that every single day you got to give your best, and that's probably the best thing you can do, is just put your best foot forward every single day. And whether it's another speech that comes out of that or you get a promotion or whatever.
Okay. It's wonderful advice. It's fantastic advice. Thank you so much for this. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.